The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Good afternoon and welcome to this week's BizSmart Webinar. Our weekly webinars are aimed to provide advice and share knowledge on key business topics and specialist areas. And joining me today is BizSmart Select member David Lynes from Unique IQ. And before we start David's webinar, can I ask you all to use the question mark function on your screen to post any questions that you may have for David, and he will do his very best to answer them all at the end of the session. Thank you, David. Over to you.
Thank you. Good afternoon all. This week's webinar is about time and attendance and sort of time and attendance monitoring. So a little bit of background, I guess, why we're sort of talking about that. We've developed a product which is called IQ Time Card, which is a time and attendance system. And so we see sort of common patterns, common issues across many of our clients. And really that's sort of where this webinar has come from. Looking at the reasons for monitoring, why to do it, but also the benefits and those sorts of areas for actually sort of monitoring people's time, where they are and what they're doing. So if we have a look very briefly at the areas that we're going to sort of cover sort of this afternoon, again, sort of each section will be sort of covered briefly, but really we're looking at obviously accuracy, and time attendance and monitoring sort of brings that accuracy, so we'll sort of cover that. Increased productivity, bottom line savings, and then areas such as decreased burden on a person or single department, which is often the case when you've got paper timesheets. Then areas like stronger company cultures can be sort of achieved by using sort of monitoring. And then areas such as improved regulatory compliance, so whether it's HM revenue and customs, working time regulations, those sorts of areas. And then really the fact that integration kind of amplifies all of those benefits above by getting systems to talk to one another. You streamline the whole process into a really sort of slick and time-effective solution. So looking at the first area, accuracy. And now, obviously, the difference between a paper timesheet and something digital is vastly different. And we see with our clients when they move from a piece of paper that may be illegible, it may be late, they may have to fax it, it may be being emailed round. You increase the accuracy just automatically by having a system in place that allows you to capture that data. So whether it's punch card, type biometric system, whether it's a remote system where you're calling in or pinning in, by using those systems you're going to get increased accuracy, and that's reliable week in, week out, month in, month out. But it also obviously alleviates mistakes on timesheets, incorrectly transposing somebody's hours, and then obviously you've got the ability to kind of see real-time information as well. So accuracy is obviously a bit of a given when you convert from paper timesheet or no system at all, maybe you trust all your staff, to a digital electronic sort of time product. And in terms of productivity, we see with our clients, again, when they're converting from either no system or disparate systems into a time attendance product and using monitoring, they're able to speed up the process of collating time, managing time, reporting on time, and it means that actually those people can be allocated in different areas potentially, and it actually increases productivity because they, instead of doing the mundane tasks over and over again, they can actually be concentrating on different areas. And that in turn also has a cost saving, which is again another benefit. But it also means that all of your data is in electronic format in one place, accessible by whoever you give permission to. So again, the managing director or HR person or third-party payroll company wants some information or needs access to some information, you've got it. It's to hand. It's easily obtained, and is stored for forevermore, essentially. So you can go back and report on different periods. But like I say, it gives you the ability to have that data in a system quickly, and that means that you don't have members of staff with Excel open all the time trying to work out data and holidays and accruals and those sorts of things, and that automatically increases productivity. Bottom line savings, obviously, by having a system and streamlining that process, the people in payroll or processing that information are going to be able to do other things, as I've just mentioned. So you've got some ongoing cost savings that are sort of realised by not having errors and transposing possibly from a paper timesheet to a system, but also eliminates things like time theft, overtime, unauthorised overtime, and so we see with our clients the time theft element may not be a proactive thing. I'm going to go and steal some time today. However, rounding up on a timesheet is essentially what that is. And so actually staff employees can be paid what they should be, for what they've worked. So it may only be 5 minutes they've clocked out early, but actually that 5 minutes accumulated over a period of time can equate to significant amounts of money. And the same with missed shifts. So if somebody fails to turn up, again, they shouldn't be paid for that shift if that's missed. And so therefore, normally, if nobody's being checked, then there's the ability for them to be accidentally paid for that shift. And those savings, can be significant depending on the work patterns, how many schedules you have, how many employees you have, and that can be sort of really some very, very large numbers. I mean, typically we see on average a sort of 12 to 15% payroll saving for companies using our system, and that's realised every single month. So it just eliminates those errors and translates that to essentially savings in the business, which is good news. Decreased burden on a person or a department, and again we see this where the payroll department, the person dealing with payroll, it might even be an owner director. It's one of the jobs that is a bit of a pain and can be a burden for that person. And what it does is it reduces and just eliminates that burden from being a single person. It takes a sort of onus and ownership out to the employee to actually make sure they clock in and clock out on time. But also means that certain information can be sort of transferred to other people, and it means you don't then have potentially a bottleneck. Information's all there in one place, and because it's both a cost and time saving sort of process, it reduces the admin effort, the payroll effort involved for somebody to manage time and attendance. One of the other benefits we see as well is the sort of stronger company culture. When we've seen where sort of employees are paid accurately, whether that's because they're working harder and longer and they're actually sort of paid for that time, or whether it's just simply based on a fairness element. We also see that staff members tend to stay when they're kind of given access to their own information and there's some visibility and openness in terms of their timesheet, how much they're going to be paid this month, making sure it's accurate and fair. And that in turn then obviously creates employees that are engaged, they want to contribute ideas, they're optimistic, they recommend your company to others as a good place to work because of that standard that's put in place to make sure that people are paid accurately and fairly. And that is helped by the fact that the system is automated, and it's one set of rules for everybody. And so, like I say, by those people engaging and being sort of, engaged with the company, they get to sort of stay and contribute and obviously sort of help build your business. And then regulatory compliance. Now this has been, in a couple of sectors that we work within, has been a really hot topic, particularly minimum wage compliance. So by having a system in place, you've got that data available in formats that you can report on, you can sort of analyse. And within our product, we do have some specific reports that are related to HMRC, minimum wage compliance, working time regulations. And again, without having a kind of system and without monitoring, without putting that sort of in place, again, you may have it in other systems, but it just means that data's together. And for example, with HMRC, they are looking to make sure that staff, people are paid at least minimum wage. And so with the press of a button, you can actually sort of report on that, and then obviously make corrective actions. And some of our clients have been audited, have been inspected, and have obviously passed those. So whatever system you use, obviously there are some regulations around that are important to bear in mind. And by having a system, it's really much simpler to sort of automate that and monitor it, and then obviously sort of make sort of corrective changes. And then the last point really is the integration. Now we work a lot in sort of development areas, and we see this week in, week out, where integrating your kind of sort of time attendance system and or other systems together essentially amplifies all those other points. So by not having a separate payroll system and a separate accounting product, for example, by having them integrated and talking to one another, means that data is shared. It means that it's efficient in terms of information flowing through that process. And again, with the paper timesheets and time attendance, it's important that it's connected in some way. It's great having a product to monitor your time attendance, but if that then doesn't feed into your payroll, again, you're missing a little bit of efficiency there that can be gained by having automatic time and attendance to payroll, which means that your payroll run, whether it's every 1, 2, 4 weeks, can receive that data and essentially pay people accurately. So I think it's really important to make sure that whatever system you use is easy to use, but also that it talks to other systems, because that then does amplify those other points. So your cost savings, your employee engagement, and productivity levels are obviously increased depending on the systems that you use and the way that you integrate those systems together. So that really covers my slides I wanted to go over today. So any questions?
Thank you, David. Right, you've got a number of questions come through. The first one is from Laura, and she asked, does the size of my company matter? We only currently have 3 employees.
Okay. It does to a certain extent. Obviously, some of these efficiencies and some of these processes you put in place will benefit a small company. So, for example, knowing kind of where your workforce are and having that standard put in place is applicable to a small company. The payroll savings may not be as large and may not be as extensive with a smaller group of employees. However, getting companies to engage in your culture, openness and honesty in terms of the information that's held, and accuracy, they're all benefits that you will get, obviously, from having, whether it's 3 employees or 3,000 employees. And we've got some clients that started with a single employee with our system. Now, yes, the benefits are pretty small for that size of company. However, as they've grown, they've then just used that within their business. It's a common system, and they've continued to grow and been helped, in that respect, by having a standard and a system in place.
Okay, thank you. Your next question is from Simon, and he asks, would this system work for my office staff as well as my engineers on the road? Absolutely, yes.
I mean, there are lots of time attendance systems out there. So, generally speaking, there will be systems out there that can cater for both. Ours does. So whether it's people in vans, people going out to perform work, whether it's home care, whether it's cleaning, as well as office staff, it's important that the whole system can deal with all areas. So yes, it can, and I think it's important that it does, because you create that efficiency by having all that data together. Your timesheets, payroll, whether it's the reporting, it can be across the whole company, not just pockets. So can work with various different industries, across different sectors, different workforce sizes. So there are products out there as well as ours that can help achieve that.
Okay, thank you. Next question is from Stuart, and he asks, how will monitoring my time and attendance of my staff help grow my business, and how long do you think it would take to see the benefit of using such a system as yours?
Okay, so I think in terms of the first part of that question, sort of how helps businesses to grow, I gave the example just then of a company with one employee has now grown, and I mean, that was a client in Truro. They're at something like 35, 40 employees now. It's helped them to grow because they've then put that process in place. They see those efficiencies, those bottom line savings, and it has allowed them to manage exceptions as opposed to kind of managing everybody. They're then obviously not sort of overburdening a single person with working out payroll data, timesheets, holiday accruals, those sorts of things manually. So it's obviously allowed them to sort of grow in that respect. What they've also benefited from is the fact that they know where people are and what time they're there. And so from their client visibility, it's obviously made sure that they're not missing shifts, that they've got visit compliance, and obviously creates a really good reputation for them, which in turn then means they're referred and so on. So that's in terms of the first part of it, you know, allowing you to grow. And then the second part, in terms of how long, really it's month one. You know, in terms of a payroll saving, you know, whether it's the few minutes here, a few minutes there that are underpaid, overpaid for employees, you're going to see that and realise that in month one. It will take a little bit of time to implement and settle down and communicate that across your staff. But in terms of payroll saving, there's a realisation, there's a value month one. Futuristically, from there, you obviously see that saving every month, but you also then get things like, you know, the sort of payroll processing time saving element, as well as the other benefits that we talked about, the accuracy and, you know, the stronger company culture and those sorts of things. So I'd say month one, but you'll then continue to see kind of benefits sort of going forward, and allows you to help grow.
Thank you very much. If there's any more questions that you may have for David, I will send out his contact details out to everybody, and you can email him direct. Thank you so much, David, for hosting today's webinar. I'll send out a copy of your presentation to everybody who joined us today. David and I hope you have a great evening, and if you can join us, our webinars are every Monday evening, and we hope you can make the next one and join us then. Many thanks. Bye.